Thank you for tuning in to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. Whether you're listening during your commute, while working out, or just relaxing at home, we appreciate you. Every download, every listen, and every subscription means a lot. Up next, the 12 Kyle podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy, 12 Kyle. I want to thank you all for tuning in as you do each and every week. Man, check this out. On this episode, what I want to talk about is having the innate ability to be quiet. You know, when we were growing up, our parents a lot of times told us to be quiet. Now, some of us, your parents told you to shut up. And others, your parents may have told you to shut the F up, right? So I grew up in a house where, my mom, would constantly tell us to be quiet. Sometimes she'd say, shut up. Now, as a parent, that's something that I've never done. Like I never told my kids to shut up. I always told them to be quiet. Because shut up just always sounds so harsh coming from a parent to a child. But here's the thing. We as people have to learn when to be quiet because everything doesn't need a response. And quite honestly, everything doesn't need for you to speak on because sometimes you speaking on something isn't the best thing. And I came to this idea because of something that I saw on Facebook. It was a meme. I can't remember one of my friends who posted it, but shout out to y'all who posted it. And shout out to everybody watching on YouTube. I appreciate you for watching, like, and share this episode. But it's just a couple of principles that I'll go through and then we'll get off the podcast. But it just talks about the things that you need to do to be quiet and when you should be quiet. And these are no particular order, so I'm going to go down this list. Number one, be quiet if you don't know the full story. Listen, there's far too often where people are commenting on a story or something that happened and they don't know the full story. And that makes the situation even worse because you're speaking on something that you have no knowledge of. Speak on what you know, or just be quiet. Because here's the thing, your words can mess up or enhance what happened and make it even worse. That's something that I do in particular. If I don't know what I'm speaking about, or if I don't know the full story, I'm going to be quiet. Like, you don't need my 2 cents. You don't need my 12 cents. You don't need my opinion on something if I don't know the full story. And it does me nor the people that I'm talking to any justice for me to be speaking on something that I don't know the full story of. And if you don't know the full story, it's more often than not that your words can help twist the story either positively or negatively, mostly negatively, into something else. And the one thing that you don't want to do is be the one to make the story worse when you really didn't know the story to begin with. So that's very key. Again, number one, if you don't know the full story, be quiet. Number two, be quiet if you feel you're unable to control your emotions. Listen, far too often we get way too emotional about things that we really probably shouldn't. Whether it's something that we see on the internet or something that someone said, be able to control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, then you probably should be quiet. Because here's the thing. We're adults, right? At least most of us are. And we should act like adults. And adults don't lose their emotions and go crazy and crash out over BS. At least they shouldn't. Now, there are quite a few who do, and we see them all the time. That doesn't necessarily make it right, okay? So, again, if you can't control your emotions, then you probably should be quiet. because you letting your emotions get the best of you or the best of those around you is only going to make the situation worse. So just do yourself a favor and everybody else around you, be quiet. Number 3, in the heat of anger, be quiet. Don't say nothing. That is the best thing. Silence is the best thing in the heat of the moment when you're angry. Because here's the thing. If you're angry, some of us can't control what it is that we say in anger. And the key thing about what it is that you say is that once you've said it, it's out and you can't take it back. And if you're angry, you just may say something that you would regret. Case in point, you're at work, you're angry with your manager. Your manager tries to talk to you. You're angry and you know that you're angry. It's probably best that you remove yourself from the situation politely and go spew and be angry someplace else. Because if you're angry in that particular instance, you may say something to your manager. You may curse your manager out. Hell, you may even swing on your manager. And that's not going to be good for you or your potential future employment at that particular employment. So yeah, number 3, be quiet if you're angry. Number 4, be quiet if your words can destroy an amazing friendship or relationship. That kind of refers back to number 3. If your words can destroy what you've built with someone, then you probably should be quiet. If you have this great relationship with your girl and you know that your girl is very, very close to her mother, you probably don't want to say anything bad about her mother while you're talking to her, because that's going to adversely affect the relationship that you have with your girl. So it's best to be quiet. It ain't for her to know at that particular time. And if you're angry, then it's really not the time to talk. But again, if your words can destroy the relationship that you have or even a friendship, sometimes we try to keep it real with our friends, and you can, and some of us have done a bad job of keeping it real, because keeping it real doesn't mean keeping it raw. You can make it raw and make it worse. So if your words can destroy a friendship or a relationship, be quiet. Just be quiet. Don't say anything. Silence is golden. Number 5, be quiet if you're unsure about the topic or you have a lack of knowledge. Man, listen, I think that's very important. And a lot of us don't adhere to that. Case in point, like, there's a lot of things that go on in this world, and people seem to, particularly on social media, and I'm just going to call out social media because I'm on social media. People tend to look to see what it is that you think or what it is that this celebrity or this athlete thinks. They may or may not have all of the information on the topic or be very knowledgeable about it. I know, like, when a few years ago, and I'll use the Black Lives Matter movement, when these instances were happening where police were killing unarmed black men and women, the Black Lives Matter movement, in a lot of cases, were looking to celebrities, black entertainers, black people who have position, and looking for them to be a voice to speak for them, if you will. And what I found is that a lot of times, particularly with athletes and entertainers, sometimes they're so isolated within their bubble, they don't know what's going on. And quite honestly, at that particular time, it was happening so frequent that it was kind of hard to keep up, to be honest. Are you feeling nostalgic for the golden eras of rap and soul music? If so, tune in to the Rap Soul Podcast. We are your weekly journey through the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, spotlighting the music and the hidden gems that shaped the soundtrack of our lives. From the powerful beats to the soulful melodies, we bring you the best of the past with fresh insights and stories. Rediscover the music that defined a generation. Subscribe to the Rap Soul Podcast and enjoy the vibes. If you want a podcast where culture, conversation, and life collide, where you get insightful commentary, engaging discussions, and a fresh perspective on everything, then you need to listen to the 12 Kyle podcast. Hosted by the one and only, yours truly, 12 Kyle, a voice that you know and trust. This podcast will bring you thought-provoking moments, compelling stories, and a whole lot of fun. Whether you're a first-time listener or just tuning in, each episode promises to be something new and exciting. So sit back, relax, join 12 Kyle, myself, and my guests as we break down the world around us and give you stories that you've never heard before, from nostalgic throwbacks to everything in between. The 12 Kyle podcast is a front row seat to this conversation. Subscribe now and never miss an episode of the 12 Kyle podcast, where the vibe is always real and the discussion is always worth your time. That being said, a lot of them didn't have the now hear me out. There are some, if we're being honest, that didn't want to mess up their bag. So they weren't going to speak out on nothing or anything. And it is what it is. I don't know that you should necessarily be looking to athletes and entertainers to speak for you, but that's another story for another day. But a lot of times they're so, and I'm not making any excuses for them, but I'm being honest. If they don't know or understand what's going on, it's hard for them to speak as if they have some type of education on whatever the topic or whatever the knowledge that they should have on this particular subject. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, police brutality, I mean, how much knowledge do you need? You do need some, honestly. And to be honest, if we're being real, you really don't want every celebrity or athlete speaking out, because they ain't necessarily going to say what you want them to say anyway. But the point is, be quiet if you're unsure about the topic or your lack of knowledge about the topic. You got to just be quiet. Just keep cool. Number 6. Be quiet when someone is sharing their struggles and vulnerability with you. That's the job of a great friend. But if we're being honest, quite a few people aren't great friends. There are some people who will share with you their struggles and their vulnerability with you. And some people, not all, but they're kind of happy that you're going through what you're going through. And they say it in their actions. Some say it in their words. And some really just don't know how to be friends, or more or less be there for you. And that's sad. But it also gives you a chance to understand where that person is in your life, or where they should be in your life, or where you should place them in your life. Because maybe you have them up here at 10 and they really should be here at 4. Maybe you think that they're a great friend. They really are your associate. But when someone is sharing with you their struggles and they're being very vulnerable with you, you really should be quiet. You should listen. It really ain't that hard to listen, but a lot of times people don't listen. And that's the sad thing. Number 7, be quiet if you can't talk without yelling. Listen, once it gets to a point where you're yelling and it's a back and forth, nobody's listening. Nobody. I mean, let's just be honest. Once voices get raised, nobody's listening. It's really about, can I talk over you? I'm going to make my point. I'm not hearing anything that you're saying, and I'm going to speak over you. I'm going to out yell you. So now it becomes a yelling contest, but you really should be quiet, because if you can't talk, if you can't communicate without yelling, then you're really not communicating. And the person on the other end, honestly, they're not listening either, because they're trying to get their point across and you're trying to get your point across. And as both of you are trying to get your points across, neither point is getting across. And it's just a bunch of yelling. So again, be quiet if you can't talk without yelling. Number 8, be quiet if your silence can save your bonds. That is very important. I don't think people realize that enough. If you can be quiet and it can save the bond that you have with your best friend, be quiet. Let it be. Because some fights just aren't worth fighting. You have to make a choice and ask yourself, is it worth it? If this bond that I have with this person, if this is my homeboy, if the bond that we have is tight, if we've been friends since, high school, if that bond is worth it, then honestly, I probably should be quiet if I need to save what we have. Now, if it's not as important as you think it is, then maybe not, but be quiet if you know that your silence can save the bond that you have with that person. Number 9, be quiet if speaking will only serve to boost your ego or seek validation. Listen, all of us, myself included, have an ego, right? How we address our ego, how we want others to address our ego varies from person to person. Is that safe to say? I think it is. But if you're looking for validation or you're looking to boost your ego, then you probably should be quiet. There's no words for you to say, because at that point, you're not being what you should be for that other person. Everything at that point is self-serving. And if it's self-serving, then you have to be honest with yourself. And I don't think a lot of us, and myself included, at points and times in my life, have been honest with ourselves as to what it was we were trying to get out of this transaction. And so if you're doing it, if you're working hard at work because you want the pats on the backs and the attaboys and the rewards, then be honest about yourself and say and understand that that's what it is that you're doing it for. If you're working hard for a promotion, then understand that that's what you're doing it for. If you're working hard and going above and beyond just because, then that's a different story. Different story. And last but not least, number 10. Be quiet if your words can betray someone's trust. Listen, I don't think people understand that just because someone tells you something, it doesn't mean that you're supposed to repeat it. And here's the thing. They shouldn't have to tell you not to repeat it. It should be a given. And if your words can betray someone's trust, then it's not worth you talking about it. Why would you even speak on something that is so private to where someone shared it with you and you know that they probably only shared it with you, but yet you're going to run your mouth about it? I can't tell you how many friendships I've seen be lost or how many family members I've seen go at it because of that type of thing. Everything isn't supposed to be reported. And a lot of times when people come to you, they come to you in confidence, and they come to you because they know that they trust you, and they feel like if they tell you something that it just stays with you. Like with my homeboys, I don't have to say, hey fellas, this is just between us. I've never said that before because it's understood. And they don't have to say, Kyle, hey, keep this quiet. No, it don't work like that. I don't operate like that, but I also understand that I'm a little different from a lot of people. Trust is something I hold in very high regard. And I'm not out to betray anybody. It's particularly people who are close to me, my family, my friends. I'm not trying to betray any of their trust because those are the people that I love and care about. But I think some of you don't see it like that. But yeah, if your words can betray someone's trust, please, by all means, be quiet. In conclusion, what this meme basically says is sometimes it's better to just be quiet. It doesn't hurt you to be quiet. It doesn't hurt anybody to be quiet. In fact, more often than not, it's the best thing to do. So if it's the best thing to do and it's the best practice that you should have, then you should, by all means, be quiet. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. We drop new episodes every Thursday and every Sunday. Also, check out our new baby. It's called the Rap Soul Podcast. It's my personal music podcast where we talk about music and artists from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s when it comes to hip hop, rap, soul, and R&B. Simply put, folks, it's the best music podcast that you've never heard. So make sure that you check it out. If you want to contribute to us financially, hit us up on Cash App, $TWELVEKYLE. Also, we have merch. Check out our merch. Go to the link in the description box below. Click the merch link. You can buy 12 Kyle Podcast t-shirts, hoodies, as well as coffee mugs. We got it for the low. Again, that's going to do it for me. I am your boy 12 Kyle. Catch you guys next time. 5,000. Cheers.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the 12 Kyle Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit the subscribe button and share this podcast with a friend who needs the 12 Kyle Podcast in their life. Every listen, every download, and every share helps us grow. Thanks for being a part of the 12 Kyle Podcast community. We appreciate your support. We will catch you next time. 5,000.